Χαίρετε ο πάντες. Amy Anepsios Leonides. I'm Cousin Leonid, and I'm here to give you another part of the grammar. Okay, now this might be a part that you're looking forward to with a great deal of dread, and that's quite fine. Okay, so today we're going to do with the aorist passive. Now, the reason why there might be quite a bit of dread is because you think that you've come across with two parts. I did one video on the strong and one on the weak aorist, and we thought we were done with that, and that's kind of fair enough. But just like there are separate forms for the passive, okay, there's going to be a separate form for the aorist passive as well. So let's have a look, and that's why it's part 3, because we've had two parts on the aorist before. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Now, the reason that this is important is because we do pop into it from time to time. Okay, it's not very common, but it's common enough that we do want to be able to recognize it without any kind of inconvenience. Okay, now we kind of say this with a proviso, so I suppose this is a more exciting presentation than what we've had previously, because we got a picture of a cute dog on the first page. Okay, it's so cute, but because the video doesn't actually earn any money, then I don't think I can be copyright struck for that. Or if they do, they will just wipe out the first minute or so. Okay, this should be fairly short. Let's go through this. Okay, so this is the table that we've got to learn, or variation, and we'll talk about this in a moment. We'll talk about where we've seen it before. So in two previous videos, we've seen the aorist passive form erethe, it was said. So that can either be seen as an aorist passive form of legor, or there's another form, iror, which is in fact a very archaic form of the verb. It is not shown in most Attic Greek or Koine Greek, Neo-Attic Greek. So, okay, so we've seen this before. Erethe, it was said. Okay, we've seen that before. So the difference between the active and the passive is someone does something, and the passive is it is done to them. Okay, so the difference between I put the pencil on the table or the pencil is put on the table by me. Okay, so we have the same action, but we're looking at it from a different perspective. Okay, so what we got here, so as we've got with the aorist normally, we've got an augment, an epsilon at the beginning of the word to tell us that it's past tense. Okay, and we expect to see this with imperfect, and we'd also expect to see it with pluperfect as well. All right, and then we have a theta in the middle. So if we take the verb luor, so I loosen, okay, or we've even got the word in analysis. Okay, so we've got, actually it's closest to its aorist form there, but that's okay. Okay, then we got the luor, so lu, and then the theta, that is one of the marks that it's either going to be aorist passive or future passive. Future passive is fairly rare. Aorist passive isn't exactly very common, but we can see that it does occur occasionally, as we saw with our erethen example. We've seen another example in the last Bible verse that we did. So we got the aorist infinitive. We got luthenai there, and we had theathenai. So to be seen, prostotheathenai. Okay, we've got the imperatives of lutheti and luthete. Now, the reason that none of those, the infinitive and the imperatives, don't have an augment, they don't have the epsilon at the beginning of the word, is because they don't really have anything to do with time. So if you command someone using the aorist, it doesn't mean for them to do something in the past, because you're commanding something which is largely impossible. Okay, it is to do with perspective, as we said. So the difference between if you give the infinitive or the imperatives in the present tense, then it is to do it and keep on doing it. If we have it in the aorist, then it's to do it mainly the once or to have the result as being only a very short duration. So that idea of in order to be seen by them in our last verse was the idea of committing an act of charity, charitable works for the benefit of other people seeing you is something which has a benefit which is a very short duration. Okay, so the only other thing we've got to say here is that, okay, there's no worries with what's in the singular, but I have seen some variations, including in textbooks and Koine textbooks in particular, not in classical textbooks. You won't see it in classical Greek textbooks, but I have seen some examples where in the plural, the eta eleuthemen changes to an epsilon. Okay, and I particularly look at that because I was going to give our model word as being erethen, but it was actually more problematic than anything here. So we might finish up here, and we can actually see occasionally we'll see the same thing with the imperatives, but I think the best thing to do is to actually look at examples. The best thing is to look at examples. If we see any examples in the verses as we go forward, then we'll point them out. We're not likely to see a great deal of these aorist passives. It's not as though they're absolutely everywhere. We will see them occasionally. All right, so thank you very much, and I will talk to you later. Okay, and there's a nice picture for us to end with. Okay.